5 keys that make quality men swipe right. Hey, I'm Antia, founder and creator of the Magnetize Your Man method, and welcome back to the Magnetize Your Man online retreat today with guest expert Dave Elliott. Hey, Dave.
Hey, thank you so much, Antia. Great to be back. It's always a pleasure.
I'm so excited to chat with you because it's the beginning of the year, and we all know that I think it's January 2nd is the hottest day of the year where all the singles, because with their New Year's resolutions, right?
Absolutely.
Come online, and also having been sick and tired of spending another holiday season, Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's, right? Without the right match. So just so powerful to talk about online dating today. And before we go there, just tell us a little bit. Let me actually tell the audience a little bit about who you are, and then we'll fill in the blanks about your journey as well. So when it comes to relationship transformation, Dave Elliott is a noted expert, author, international speaker, and an accomplished coach who gets results for his clients all over the world. He's especially gifted as teaching smart, amazing women how to bring out the very best in men, rather than suffering through their worst. Whether he's sharing his expertise in books or products, or on some of today's most widely read relationship websites, or on TV, radio, or stage, you will come away with the new awareness, skills, and strategies to get the breakthrough results you really want and need. So welcome.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. One thing I could add to that too, and that basically we're going to talk about today, the reason I'm going to feature the book that we're going to talk about today, and because again it's so timely, all those people with the brand new Year's resolutions, and this is the year they're going to attract in love. So I wanted to talk about that. I think it's just really a timely issue. I wrote my first book, gosh, a number of years ago. I've got a few now, but my first book was called The Catch Your Match Formula. The reason I wrote it is because I would have my clients say, this online dating thing is not working for me. They were struggling with it, and I would say, send me what you're doing. Let me take a look at it. And what they didn't know, and what a lot of your listeners probably don't know, is I was an award-winning copywriter and worked in advertising agencies for about 20 years before I got into this. So I would look at their profiles and I'd say, I think I got it. Let me take a look at it. And oftentimes I would take what they had written, maybe ask them some questions, and then edit what they had written or what they had proposed. And I'd send it back and they're like, oh my God, that's incredible. Like, I would date me because I'm taking the information they gave me, but I'm just representing it in a slightly different way. So the book is called The Catch Your Match Formula.
Totally.
And it basically, I just give a bunch of guidelines about how to, I'd say that's one of my top tips, is think about yourself as an advertising professional, my job is to either get you to sample something or go to somewhere, buy something, do something, take some kind of action. So to understand that, like, this is it's a handbook about how to turn you into a personal brand. And so it's about branding exercises, like how do you communicate elegantly, effectively, and efficiently who you are? What do you bring to the table? What do you offer? Why should they contact you out of thousands of other profiles in your, general, age and physical location and all these other things, background, why contact you? Yeah. And so if that makes you nauseous, just thinking about that, like, oh, the competition, I think that's why it's really important to then to do this kind of exercise, because it's all about positioning yourself and feeling good about yourself and getting to a place where you can step into the market and not, feeling self-conscious or like you don't belong. So I think that's one of the beauties of the book. It helps you get really clear on who you are and the value that you bring. And if you don't know that, you really need to get the book. That's why it's incredibly important. So
let's actually dive right into the 5 keys that make quality men swipe right. So what is number 1, Dave?
Right. So the number 1, I started to talk about it a little bit, is that I understand that it's an advertisement, and an advertisement has certain jobs. It's got to entertain people. It's got to intrigue them. It's got to make them curious. It's got to maybe romance them a little bit. It's got to do all these different jobs. And lastly, and most importantly, if it doesn't have a call to action, if they don't do something, it's all worthless. So you might as well not have posted it anyway. So the call to action is key about how to get someone to say, wow, she sounds incredible. Let me reach out to her. Like, I want to know more about that. again, that's another kind of trip, I say technique or trick to get someone to interact with you, is to ask an open-ended question and have them want to respond to it. So it's really just understanding that you are a brand, you can communicate who you are in an effective way in, I would say, rich descriptive language that makes people want to know more about you. So I'd say that's number one, is think of yourself as a brand and be able to communicate effectively what your brand represents and what's important to you, that kind of thing.
Could you bring us just one example, like one sentence, what descriptive means? Because I could see some women saying, that's what I do, and nobody's reaching out to me. So maybe by you bringing just one example, of course, that may or may not apply to the woman exactly, but so she can just kind of get a little bit of a sample of how she needs to start thinking.
Right. So sure, it could be like if I said to you, Antia, what's most important to you in life? And the answer to that question will tell me so much about you. It'll tell me about your values, what you're, where you are now, what you're moving toward, what you're moving away from, what you really don't like. So it's really about understanding who you are and what you want. So I'm thinking about those things. So it's basically an introduction. Like if you were going to meet someone for the very first time and I said, well, tell me about you. What are the 3 to 5 things that you would say to tell me about you? And then let's go in and pull those out. Like what are some of your most important values? What do you love to do? What do you hate to do? What do you never want to do? What must you always do? Like questions like that tells me a lot about you. And also it's going to tell a potential date a lot about you too, because if he's like, oh my God, she sounds like me, he's going to be intrigued. He's going to want to hear from you. But if you say you have very different values, like you say, I love dogs and I can't have enough of them. I'll have a zoo soon. And he's like, I got allergies. Nah, that's not going to work. I'm not, taking a position on either, right? Both are awesome. But those are the kinds of things that you'll want to tell people. Like, someone maybe you love traveling and the other person's like, nah, I got to work too much, not a priority. Those kinds of things, so that you can start to connect with people who share similar values, a similar model of the world, and see the world in a similar way to you. Does that make sense?
Oh, beautiful. Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of like a sorting game as well when we do online dating. What's key number 2?
Well, too, I would say, again, it's talking a little bit more about that, but the key is to know your value and show your value. Again, in advertising, we have a thing called a USP, and a USP is what we call our unique selling proposition. So what I help you get clear on is, what is your unique selling proposition? And it's kind of what I was just talking about. Like, what do you bring to the table? What's unique, what is interesting, what separates you from other people like you? Why should I want to get to know you? And that's not a challenge. That's a intrigue me. Tell me about you. Because I think automatically there's already, as a coach, one of the things that I do is I ask the question, like, what do I love about this person? What's really cool about them? What do I really, what do I acknowledge? What do I respect? What do I appreciate? What do I notice? Like, what's amazing about this person? So I can see that. And so that's one of the things I do in coaching, is I help you, as the person who's asking that question, get to the place where you're like, that is pretty cool. I never thought of that. You start to think about those attributes about yourself and of yourself that are really kind of make you proud to be who you are, and sort of get out there and feel really good. And the cool thing about that is, when you know internally what you're proud of, what makes you feel good, you show up, you walk differently, you talk differently, you present differently when you're meeting someone. And I think that's the key too. So even though a lot of it is about the profile, the written introduction, so to speak, it's literally about how you walk through the world too. It's like basically turning on your internal radiance button, and basically so that you're radiating who you are and showing up in the world differently. And I think that's one of the kind of cool extra added aspects of the book, right? So to feel radiant and to like who you are and to feel good about it, not shrink from comparisons, competition, or feeling good, staying in your lane, and just like, well, if you're not the one for me, that's fine. I know he's out there, and you'll find him. And that kind of just clarity, like it basically, it's that whole practice of is attraction. What you're attracted to will be attracted to you as well. But again, it's our job to get really, really clear on what that is. So.
And also it really takes feeling safe to be seen, because a lot of women unconsciously don't make themselves so seen, even through words or descriptions in their online dating profile, because they had an emotionally unavailable parent, or maybe even an abusive parent. And I know we don't have that much time to go into that today, but that's also something that you have seen. Yes, like that actually there is a correlation between that and a woman to actually, in a way, having a parts conflict, whether she even wants to be seen or not.
Yeah, absolutely. That can be challenged. And so if you're in a position where you're like, I'm not even sure I'm really comfortable about being seen, let me save you some time and effort. It's probably not a good time to be out dating if you are in that place. This is probably not the best use of your time and not the best way to manage the energy you have at that moment. Now, I'm not telling you, oh, dating's out for you and you're not. It just maybe do some work so that you get to a place where you feel really good about where you are. So
Yeah,
that would be something that would be great.
beautiful. So what is key number 3? That rhymes. Key number 3.
Key number 3. Just realized that my plug came out. Key number 3 is, here's the other thing too. Again, copywriting is about, what I call it is painting a picture with words. So again, if like a lot of times, here's the thing that I would see when I have my clients send me their profiles as they put them up. They say, well, I'm fun loving or I'm adventurous. And okay, great. I don't know what that means. If you're going to tell me that you're adventurous, you tell me what's adventurous. Is adventurous like, I quit my job and I traveled around the world for 6 years with a backpack? Or is adventurous like I sometimes get to Friday night and I don't know what I'm going to do this weekend? Like that's a whole wide level of adventurous. And so I think it's much better and more effective to give an example, like what is adventurous to you, or what is fun loving to you, or what is, exciting to you, or what is playful to you. Everybody's got a different kind of example of it. So I kind of paint a picture with words and give examples, like, and I ask questions in the book too, like what's something that's on your bucket list? What have you always wanted to do? Like, something that'll create some excitement. And tell people about that. Here's the thing: when you tell someone about saying, like, one of the examples that I like to use is, if you say to someone, I've always wanted to I would scuba dive in the Great Barrier Reef is an example that I've used, and someone says, "Oh my God, me too." That person is going to respond to you, because what you just did is you used what, again, I talk about in the book, is you used a sticky association. So a sticky association is, let me give you a great example. If I said to you, where were you on 9/11? Pretty much everyone who's alive then knows exactly where they were and what happened, and who they were talking to and who they were standing next to and what they said. And the reason is because there is an emotion and there's a feeling, and they are stuck together. So there's a sticky association there. Anytime you take that kind of a world-changing perspective and you add a strong emotion to it, like that's something that's absolutely unforgettable. And so I teach people how to do that, to create these kinds of sticky associations where people associate them with those things. And a lot of times those things are the stories that you share. So like I said, if you say, I've always wanted to, hike the Appalachian Trail or something, whatever it is, and someone's like, oh my God, that sounds great. Or maybe it has nothing to do with that. Maybe it's opening a bed and breakfast in Bimini or something. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just making up stuff. But if someone says, wow, that sounds amazing. I love the way this person sees the world. I want to talk to her. And you really get a buy-in. And that's the kind of thing that's just really powerful, because people, it's essentially having someone catch your vision and say, I want more of that.
And in NLP, we really say, right, the map is not the territory.
It's not the territory, exactly
right. Like somebody says, like, I want to commit a relationship. I want that too. But to me, that means I talk to you once a week. And to the other person that meets, you talk to them twice a day, or you see them twice a day, right? So it's really like this, exactly what you said, is when you say that, like, what the heck does that mean to you, right? And then it's like, oh, I did that with my husband, Dave, and you would be surprised, like,
Probably not.
oh, that is what, oh, I would have never thought that. Okay, that makes sense, right? So even with the closest people in our life, there's even more danger to make all those assumptions.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gets to be, you obviously, you and Brody found one another, right? Because you guys had certain things that you resonated with together, and you were on the same page, and you wanted very similar things in the world. And so again, that's just that way that it's essentially, I mean, the name of your event is about magnetizing. It's literally the process of magnetizing someone who says, oh my God, she sounds incredible. And that's the beauty of it, is to show up on that profile in this place, feeling really good, having done your work, knowing what you bring to the table, having clarity, and again, be able to know it and show it and tell it. There was a public speaking thing. I can't remember who it was who said this, but I like the way they said it. Know your story cold, but tell it hot. Again, that's a great thing. If you do this information for a profile, then when you show up for a coffee date, and you start to share some stories, and he says, well, tell me about that, tell me about that Bimini thing, tell me about that, where'd you go, what do you want to do, what's that look like, what's your timeline? And then that's a whole great conversation. And again, you're energized, and I mean, you've got someone else who is excited by it too. Like, there's a energy there that kind of just spirals, and that's going to go well.
Absolutely. And it causes also intrigue as well. So what is key number 4, Dave?
Okay, so chapter number 4, I created a little acronym. I like to work in acronyms because they're easy to remember. So you're going to think this is interesting. I want you to tell them why you're the best. And what I mean by best is an acronym. So a B is about, what are the benefits of dating you? So like, why you? Out of all the other people, what are the benefits? What do you bring to the table? The E is, what's the experience of dating you? What's it going to look like? What kind of things are we going to do? Like you said, are we are we going to talk every day, 7 times a day? Are we going to be, inseparable? Or do you have a really busy life too? And we'll just check in at the end of the day. We'll get together, spend the weekend, whatever it looks like. Have an idea about what that experience is like. The S is about the sizzle. It's the thing that we're talking about. It's like, scuba diving, or, skiing, or climbing mountains, or, like I said, doing something you've always longed to do. So that's the sizzle, that's the excitement. There's the steak, and then there's the sizzle. The sizzle is the excitement. And then the T stands for traits. What are the traits that you bring to the table? Are you fun-loving? Again, playful? Again, talk about those things. So again, there's real value in coming up with those lists, and then harvesting some of your favorite things from the list, and then presenting them in your profile with examples. So there's a whole methodology on how I do it. So tell them why you're the best. What are the benefits? What are the experiences? What's the sizzle, the excitement that you bring, and what are the traits? So those are some helpful keys.
And then maybe if the woman doesn't know that, maybe she can also ask some of her girlfriends what some of her traits are. Because, some women are, not like the best at like, delivering themselves, so to say, presenting themselves in the most favorable light, because they simply have a distorted self-perception. So that may be a good idea too. What do you think?
Right. And again, I think that's why it's so useful to actually have a list where someone's asking you, okay, tell me about this. And now you have to go in there and think, well, gosh, what are my top traits?
Yeah.
And again, just because most people don't ask that, and probably in polite conversation, right? Like, what are your top 10 traits in order? You're not prepared for that. But again, in the privacy of your home, if you're thinking about it, and I've lovingly challenged you to identify these things and actually bring more attention to them and more emphasis to them, so that you can feel good, separate from the dating thing, so that you can feel good. Like, if you really recognize, what, I never really thought about it before, but I'm actually really intelligent. Or if you take on intelligent, or if you take on, I'm really kind, or I'm really loving, or I'm really playful, whatever it is, if you take it and you own it, like, that's sort of the antidote to not knowing. Right? If you start to just take it on, you're like, wow. I sometimes, didn't give myself credit for being as smart as I am, but I've really been through a lot, and I've always figured it out. Or resilient, that's another great one, or just something like that. So I think just doing the exercise gives you the clarity for what to fill in the blanks with, but it also literally changes the way you feel. because you've identified these things and you bring a new pride and a new energy to the dating game. And I think a lot of times, I'll tell you the secret, it's really that. It's the energy that you bring to dating. It's not about, the stories that people make up, their narrative. Well, men are jerks, or I'm not enough, or I'm not pretty enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not too thin, whatever it is, any kind of narrative that someone can make up. Most of the time I find it's not the truth, because I find there's really someone for everyone out there. There are certain people who love certain body types or certain heights or whatever it is. There's absolutely someone for everyone. What gets in the way is the story you have about why you can't have it.
I so agree with that. We said, like, what was it, like 1 or 2 years ago, the average wedding dress size was size 12. So, okay, so all the people who are like, well, I weigh too much. Well, what about all those brides that weigh to buy those 12, size 12? They're getting married, right? Last time I checked, when you buy a wedding dress, you're getting married, you found your man. So it's so great to actually see. It's really just a sense of inadequacy that they have, that they then project onto whatever it is, right? I don't have this body attribute, or I'm not that smart, or all the things. So what is key? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, in the book after that, I go on to help people identify that the narratives that they've created, and the narratives are literally the thing that blocks, the things that are hiding in plain sight that stop you. And I've talked about that with your interviews before, but it's called Same Shit, Different Date, why we do those things, why we run into those. But that's where you get to deal with that. The next one, number 5, is, well, let's talk about photos. One of the other most important things about photos. Here's a great example. I have this client who is just the most impressive woman. And just this weekend, I was helping her, she just literally just went through a breakup. She had a really great experience. They parted as friends, but she realizes that there's something more for her that she's looking for. And I said, well, let's get out there again. I said, why don't you send me your dating profile? And she had done it by herself without me a long time ago. I took a look at it and I was really kind of shocked. She sent me the words first. I took the words and I edited them down into sort of still descriptive, but a little bit more direct and a little less flowery, basically presenting it like a man would kind of read it. Her information, but presented with a little bit less flowery stuff, right? So it can be a little more effective. So I helped her do that, but then I said, send me your pictures too. Let me take a look at them. And I was like, I actually said, we should do a photo. She's a very successful woman, top of her game. Like so many, like just snapshots that weren't good quality, that weren't well lit. So I got a number of rules about, a number of suggestions about photography. Because again, I was a graphic designer and writer, so I'm also visually directed as well. About 6 pictures is probably good. There are people that put like 1 or 2, and that's probably not great. And there are people that put like 27. That's also not great. That tells you, if they only have 2 or they have 27, that tells you a lot about the personality already. So I think about a half dozen is good. And what I suggest is give me a cross section of who you are. For the first one, I want like just a nice, head and shoulders crop I'm doing here. That's well lit and nice and looks good and is presentable, because remember, you're going to see it originally about the size of a postage stamp, surrounded by about 25 or 30 other people. So it wants to be clean and tight, and well made up, well lit. Lighting is your friend. Again, if people are, I don't understand why, if it's really that important to enough that you want to meet the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, spend a couple of $100 and get someone who has got some lighting package that can go with it. And it's good for professional. Again, I was actually surprised that her pictures were a bunch of snapshots. And the other thing, no sunglasses, no helmets, no hats, no things that are going to get in the way of a true connection. Like, and just about every single one of them had something in it. It was either too far cropped, there was other people in it, like, wait a minute, which one is she? Or stuff like that. So it's really about, just presenting yourself in the very best light possible. And a lot of times that's about lighting, and it's about cropping, and it's about energy. And it should be some full body shots, and then it should be some closer up ones too, especially your main profile, which again is just head and shoulders, nicely lit, looking radiant. So like, that's the key. I think Oh, and then also, I suggest, do like your sort of professional headshot, then maybe like say a workplace casual shot. So it's nice, but not, really professional, depending on what you do. And then show me some of your hobbies. Like if you love hiking, show me with you hiking, but like if you take off the sunglasses and all that stuff, or just show me a picture of you outside, right? Or, if there's something, you love travel and you want to show me your picture in front of the, Eiffel Tower or something, great. But don't show it from a distance with 500 people in it. Let me see you and the tower and I'll figure out who it is. So that kind of thing, just for clear communication. Like because here's the thing, you have like a second to make a first impression. You don't get a second chance to make another impression. So, you really want to be crisp and elegant in helping people to understand, like, okay, at a glance, who are you? What do you bring to the table? And so there, certain rules that I suggest, Um,
Photos
so
are one of my favorite topics, Dave, because you're so right. I had a woman who came to me and she was attracting all those like liars and like she ran background checks on them. She found out all the stuff, right? I was like, let me take a picture, like a look at your photos, right? And I mean, just exactly sunglasses, and also not looking in the camera, this model look, right? Because models
yes,
don't look in the
yes.
camera.
Again, you
Right?
can't connect with that.
No, and I'm like, of course, that's all you attract because they're available, man. They keep swiping. They're like, there's no connection, They're like, and what is she hiding? Why is there always something in her face, on her face, in the background? Like, absolutely. What do you think about colors? What colors should a woman wear?
Um, I think just, something that you feel good in is flattering. I mean, I don't know. I don't really give fashion advice, so to speak. I know I actually had someone who came to one of my meetings once who did drapings, who would pick out a complementary color. I don't go as deep into that. I know there are people out there who are great. They're wardrobe consultants. I mean, again, I suggest you get a photographer. I don't know if you want to get a wardrobe consultant too, but or a personal shopper, I mean, those can be great too. If you find someone who can totally, if that's a challenge for you and you think you don't photograph well, maybe give yourself the gift of a personal stylist who will go shopping and get a couple of nice outfits for you that are flattering and in a good color that works for you. I mean,
It
I
does.
think
It
it's
does a lot for you, I
worth
tell
it.
you.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we did it a few years ago, and it's like we're like still best investment ever. You know what I mean? Like it changed your whole life. But tell us a story. What's like one of the stories of like a woman that you worked with, and then she was able to attract actually a man into her life after she was really struggling with attracting a man into her life because she didn't know how to present herself, how to talk about herself.
Oh my gosh. There's actually, I put some early results, testimonials from people who read it in the book. And there was one woman who said, and the book's been out for a couple of years now, probably like 5-6 years. She said, I've been doing online dating for like, I don't know, 12 years or something. Met, a bunch of dates, but nothing really went anywhere. She said, I used her formula, redid my same profile, and bam, there was like this exponential increase in attention. And it was her, but just her represented, so it was huge, the difference that she saw, because I mean, these are all people that probably presumably seen her profile before too, but because she represented herself using this formula, again, it's about understanding how men think, how to present yourself in a way that that feels good to you and is received by them. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just about, that's another part of the book too, because a big part of advertising is about understanding your target market. So I talk a lot about that in the book, and like, identifying, well, who is he? What's he into? Where does a man like that hang out? Where would you find him? A person with those, interests and traits, what are they going to do? Where will they be? How do you meet them? So there's like all kinds of ideas in there about that kind of thing too, but understanding who's your target. It's, funny to say call them a target, but I mean literally, like, that's what you're doing. There's a goal involved here. You don't want to be so fixated on it so that you're pursuing it from a masculine hunter position, but you also, when you have a real clarity about what you wanted to, again, we get to that place of awareness and you're actually attracted to it, and what is attracted to what you are is attracted back. So it's still, I mean, it's actually a book for men and women, but we're talking to women here. So it's still, it allows you to be out there, but not as a hunter. You're out there as a gatherer. People, you're gathering the attention of people who are going to be interested in the way you're presenting yourself. So it's still great energy.
Beautiful. So let's go ahead and summarize the 5 keys. So what was number 1 again?
Sure. Number 1 is that whole thing about the branding, call to action, understanding that you kind of are, you have a unique brand, and how you communicate the brand is going to dictate the results you get, the attention you get, who's interested, who's not interested.
And number 2 was unique selling proposition.
Unique selling proposition. Yeah, that's understanding, again, like what do you bring to the table, getting really clear on that. 3 was paint a picture of the future and using rich descriptive language and actually put people in it so they can see like, ooh, that sounds like a great weekend. Or I'd like to go there, or wow, she sounds like she's fun, or whatever it is. So again, allowing people to picture themselves in the scenarios with you is number 3. 4,
bring your best.
Tell them why you're the best, right? The acronym. What are the benefits? What are the experiences? What's the sizzle? What are the traits that you bring to the table? Again, there's just so much clarity in doing that exercise. I think it'll give you real value to do your profile and have that information. And then lastly, we talked about the pictures, what's important about, how you present, essentially putting your best foot forward. Again, you've got, I give the example of like, at the very first, when someone says, okay, I'm in this area zip code and I'm looking for someone in a 20, 50, 100, 200 mile radius, whatever that is. And it goes, and there's 50 people all about the same size. What makes them gravitate to you? There's only a handful of things. So again, it's about understanding the clarity of the image that says, let me click on that. If you don't get a click, it's all worthless. All the effort means nothing. That's, again, when you start to think about it, as like, understanding that advertising has a job, call to action. The first call to action is you got to click to find out more. If you don't get that, you'll never meet them.
Beautiful. And for the women who would like to learn more about you, Dave, and how to actually work with you, what's your free gift that you have for them?
Well, actually, since we're talking about this book, let me just give them a free chapter out of the book too. You can go onto my website at the link that I'm going to share with you, and there's like a sample edition of it, just like a couple of chapters and some descriptive stuff in there. So I'll let them get that. It's a free PDF they can download immediately and check it out. And if they like it, then go get the rest of the book if they want to.
Beautiful. And this is, of course, the Catch Your Match formula. And the link will be right below this video. Like, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Dave, and like illuminating us a little bit more about the intricacies of online dating and how to make it actually a successful experience. And for the ladies, I will talk to you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.